According to some Christian traditions, the reign of Jesus Christ would be somehow expressed in art, in the culture in general, and the kingdoms or empires would somehow be subject to Jesus Christ. No? The theory says that's why they introduced the J for Jesus, or sometimes it's not the J, it's an I, like Jesus. Mm-hmm. It makes sense. It's a very good point, even though it makes me think, would someone reigning with the Messiah inside build those monuments just to make an exercise of power or dominion? I think it's very carnal or very materialistic. Maybe it had to do with the expansion of some form of Christianity or different forms of Christianity, because there are many. Even in ancient Egypt, there was a type of Christianity. No? The form of Christianity brought by issue or inspired by issue somehow inverts all other forms of Christianity. It's different. I used to love the history of art in the school, and I remember the dates. They say, well, the cathedrals belong to the 1200s, the 1300s, but what if they were built by confratries or groups of masons that wanted to imprint wisdom in those buildings? Actually, some time ago, I found out a documentary about a woman who claims that the cathedrals were built in order to help the healing of people. So, if we have a look to these designs, we find out that they seem to be picking up something from heaven.
Yeah.
In the history of art classes, we were told that this is an essential element in the art, but what if it had a practical function?
Absolutely.
Other people say that these were monuments filled with technology that picks up a scalar energy. A scalar energy is a form of energy discovered by James Clerk Maxwell, even though science went in other direction, but scalar waves are the hidden part of electromagnetism. So we have the electromagnetic phenomenon, waves that oscillate, that somehow go up and down, but the scalar waves are all over, spread all over, and they are a source of infinite energy. So if we were able to tap into that field of energy, we wouldn't need lamps like this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what if the ancients knew about this form of energy?
Absolutely.
It makes sense to me, because even the ancient pyramids and other ancient technologies are crazy in terms of the massive blocks that they use.
Right.
So we are not able to build that without cranes. So would they be moving those stones with chisels, ropes, and slaves?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
No way. No way. I don't think so.
So maybe these buildings, which are massive, not just the cathedrals, but many others, castles, were part of a civilization that was rampant.
Yeah.
And it's possible that they were even connected to the message of spreading, well, the new era of the new Adam. It might be a possibility.
Or maybe even trying to usher in that era of the 1,000-year reign, of trying to get to a point to where the house is put in order to a point where that millennium is possible.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting as well. maybe they thought they had to build the third temple on earth, just as the Jews now are,
Yes.
are now
Exactly.
proclaiming to bring the third temple in Jerusalem, because the second temple was destroyed in the year 70. And there is even a movement in theological Christianity which says the book of Revelation, the Apocalypse, makes reference to that first destruction that took place between the 66 AD and 70 AD. And well, there was a massive amount of deaths. Over 1 million Jews were murdered by the Romans. They killed men, women, children. Even the Essenes that were far apart in the desert, they were invaded by the Romans.
Yeah, that's where they hid all them documents and everything. That's where they found the Dead Sea Scrolls, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
They hid those scrolls because they knew they were going to be destroyed.
They were coming, yeah.
And it was the Master Yeshua who said that was going to happen. There were no stone left
unturned.
Yes. And he was already advising people to flee to the mountains, not only physical mountains, but spiritual mountains.
Absolutely.
And yes, I think, well, that part of the apocalypse was fulfilled in that period. So it's not something from the future, because, well, we are already living the consequences of all the barbarities lived throughout millennia. And it's a total apocalypse, what we are living. But when Master Yeshua said that this generation will not pass without seeing this, I am foreseeing, he was referring to that generation. However, the apocalypse says there will be a 1,000-year reign in which Satan would be chained by the angel, the messenger of the divine, and then those who are risen with the new nature, the new mind, would reign with the Messiah for 1,000 years. Now this made me think, would they live 1,000 years on earth, or is it just a symbol of the 10 Sephirot, because the Sephirotic tree has a feminine manifestation of 10 spheres. Then there are 3 which are masculine: the will, the I, and conscience, no? O sea, Ena, Ratzon Alakaspia, which is within Keter, and then Da'at Elyon. That influx of the 3 missing spheres brings the spheres of the normal Sephirotic tree, which are 10, to 100%. So we would have 1,000. So for me, the millennium, the real millennium, is the growth of spiritual nature inside. And obviously, those who were with Master Yeshua in those times must have been receiving a huge influence.
Absolutely.
And some of them were probably able to reach a very high state.
Yes, they experienced that millennium kingdom there.
Yes, in a sense, they enter the kingdom inside.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Right. Because the apostles were martyred. Many of them suffered the same death. Peter, Andrew. Peter was crucified upside down. Andrew was crucified in a cross, I think. Then Apostle Paul was also martyred, no? And he had abilities. They were obviously connected to something, and they claimed that they were already in the kingdom. But outside it was chaos, so it doesn't make sense to be waiting for 1,000-year reign outside. Some people, as you say, might have been struggling to bring that message with a physical support of buildings, yes. Paintings.
Because they didn't want the understanding to be misunderstood, because if they didn't see the physical Millennium Kingdom, they could have, lost their faith or count everything as lies that was said on the misunderstanding that it's more inside, it's more than outside, it's more esoteric than it is exoteric.
Yeah, just as the creation in 7 days, no? One day is like 1,000 years, said Peter.
There it is. Right.
7,000 years. So
yeah, and that's and they and like you said, like how come they add these years and we don't know what year we're in, and it depends on what calendar you look at. If you look at the Gregorian calendar, or you look at a lunar calendar, or the Jewish people, I believe it's year 5,400 something. How they keep their time, their records. So yeah, time is as we all know is very could be manipulated. Very very easily, it seems. And hence the word of the Dark Ages. Of course, there it is. They already admit that there was Dark Ages that weren't documented. The years were, I don't know, just
yes.
not accounted for in some sort of fashion.
The interesting thing about that expression, Dark Ages, is that they were not dark at all. Right. They were filled with wisdom. Actually, here in Spain, we had a bishop called Isidoro de Sevilla, Isidoro of Sevilla, because he was the bishop of the city of Sevilla in the south, and he was a library. This man was a librarian himself. He wrote an extensive history full of information, and he's still used as a source of information. And we know of that epoch mostly because of him. And well, even in universities, when I studied philosophy, many teachers say there were not Dark Ages. They were incredibly learned, those people. It's true that later on, in the late so-called Middle Ages, well, the church started to control, and in the Renaissance, they organized the Inquisition and persecuted people, which is very interesting because that period would be the end of the millennium. So let's say that there was a millennium being built during the first 1,000 years after the coming of the Master.
Yes.
And we would have this explosion of culture. Even in Arabia, Arabian philosophers, Al-Kindi, Al-Farabi, Avicenna, the Sufis, were extraordinary, amazing.
Absolutely.
They recovered even things that were lost. But the church erased all that, not in those first periods. The first fathers of the church were not so dictatorial or violent.
Right.
That came later. And it makes sense because right in the 1400s or 1500s, we would have what in the book of Revelation calls the little season of Satan. I don't know if you have read it, but it says that after the 1,000 years, Satan, exactly, he would be unchained. So it makes sense.
The timing fits pretty good. And that's why they probably call it the Dark Ages, because it was an age of enlightenment, and they just twist it. Oh no, we can't have them thinking that this was a good thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's funny because the age of enlightenment is the 18th century, according to the official history.
The artifacts are all there.
Which is the birth of the Illuminati, you know, the logias to which many famous people belong. Mozart was an Illuminati, you know, and many philosophers, Voltaire, and all these promoters of the French Revolution.
Yes.
What about Islam? The Islam known today is the one brought by Muhammad, or the so-called prophet of the Muslims? Because it makes me doubt that someone that claims to be a divine prophet can promote wars and can go into other countries to impose a religion that's totalitarian. That cannot be from a divine prophet. In any case, it would be from Satan. But what about the Sufis? The Sufis developed a beautiful culture in the 1300s, the 1200s. Rumi, Ibn Arabi, Attar. So the fragrance that they bring is so high that makes one think something is going on. So things are not as they are being told.
I think they seldom are. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Even the buildings claim to be built by the Arabic people. Here in Spain we have an Arabian culture, especially in the south. The Alhambra, I don't know if you have seen the Alhambra, as it's called. It's amazing. It's beautiful. The amount of technical knowledge and wisdom you need to build all this is, well, spectacular is falling short.
Yeah.
It's a level of painstaking work which makes you think, is this done by assassins, murderers? It cannot be. Maybe the caliphs or the kings, the Muslim kings, were murderers, but what if they just used or took advantage of something that was there? No?
Absolutely.
This might be older.
Yeah, is that the same thing as on the Temple Mount?
The Temple Mount of Jerusalem, you say?
Yeah, is that building built by who was? I'm not sure who that building was built by, or did they just refurbish a building that was already there? Is there not a mosque on top of the Temple Mount now?
Yes, but it's different. So the mosques are not like this. They are more simple, more simplistic. This is amazing.
Oh, absolutely.
Actually,
that reminds me of pictures of like Solomon's Temple or something like that.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that one there.
Anatoly Fomenko says that the Temple of Solomon was Santa Sofia. I don't think it was the Temple of Solomon. This is Santa Sofia. Mm-hmm. It's beautiful. It's very touristic. Santa Sofia is a building that was Christian. It was Constantinople, which is now in Turkey. The Ottoman Empire ruled over that area for many centuries until it was defeated in the 1922 by Kemal Atatürk. But today, Santa Sofia is both for Muslims and for Christians. Here you have the minarets, which again seem to be built in order to pick up energy from heaven.
Yeah.
They have an ascensional element. I don't have anything against Muslim art. It's superb.
Absolutely.
It's beautiful. No? But some of the Islamic predicaments are totally forgeries. I think that cannot come from the divine. At least many of the ideas from Islam. The culture of
that could be said for any religion, really.
yes,
Like you said, that participates in war and destruction, of their fellow people.
Yeah, Islam, Christianity, and Judaism have been the most bloodthirsty religions, at least in their external part.
Right.
The three lies of Peter, the stone that was not work inside.
Yeah. Or that could even be you will disown me 3 times before the rooster crows.
Exactly. The,
Yeah.
it's fallen Adam
Yeah.
being again caught up in the trap of this world,
Yep.
deceived by Iblis, Satan, whatever you call them.
Right.
It's another
Many
race.
names. Many names. To disguise itself, of course, you know what I mean? That's why speaking of the time periods and the names, and yeah, the names may change and the times may change, but like the vibration doesn't change. So we could tell them by their vibration, what they're putting out. We could tell them by their fruit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's all so mixed up that sometimes the truth is mistaken.
Yeah.
It's so disguised with lies and vice versa.
And sometimes it's so subtle too, where they don't twist the lie fully. They just add a little J, or add something that just is there for deceptive purposes, that it's just so subtle, and it just changes the whole meaning of something.
I will be digging into this idea of the origins in the north with the myths of Hyperborea, for instance, or the Garden of Eden. There is even a book called Paradise Found by William Warren, The Cradle of Civilization in the North Pole. It's an ancient, not an ancient, an old book. And he gives a huge amount of information concerning the origin of humanity in the North region. So this would confirm the ideas of the origins in the North.
Yeah, not far removed from that. Yeah, I remember seeing the pictures, the maps of that, where everything, all the land was right there. Everything originated right there, and it was all one continent, right?
This might be also connected to the spread of this civilization, the Tartaria, or the land of Prester John, whatever we will call it.
Yeah, right.
As we move further in this investigation, the truth will come out, because the lies are falling down and they don't sustain themselves.
That's one thing about lies. Yeah, it's unsustainable. It truly is. Yeah, because only the truth is absolute.
Yes.
So it's only for a time, and even if that, if it's only as much as you want to feed into it,
So we can close up. This talk has been fascinating.
Yeah, very much so. Load up Pandora's box, put the lock back on it.
Yes, to digest. There is a lot of information.
Yeah, flying all around.
It's a pleasure,
brother. Oh, my pleasure always. And I appreciate it, and I hope to do it again soon. Not so few and far between.
Yes, let's keep in touch.
Yep, always.
In communication. And we'll see how wisdom unfolds.
Yes.
So blessings.
Blessings, brother. Two-way hun.